Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Have you ever imagined that a tiny copper coin you might have walked past on the street or spent without a second thought could actually hold the power to change someone's life forever? Well, today, we are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1975 D1 cent USA coin that shockingly holds a face value in the collector's world of a staggering $20 million. And when you hear numbers like that for something as common as a penny, it immediately captures attention because it breaks every notion we have about value, rarity, and history. And what makes this coin such an extraordinary treasure isn't just its age, but the unique set of circumstances surrounding its minting, the errors, the imperfections, the historical context, and the condition that elevates it from being just another coin in circulation to a masterpiece desired by collectors worldwide. And the story of the 1975 D penny is not just about metal, copper content, or a small coin, but about the journey of America's minting history, the artistry, the flaws that turned into fortune, and the sheer unpredictability of what can turn a seemingly insignificant object into a cultural and financial phenomenon. Because back in 1975, when these coins were being minted in Denver, nobody thought twice about the billions that flowed into circulation, yet among them a select few carried mistakes so minute yet so significant that decades later they would shock the numismatic community. Imagine a coin struck with slightly misaligned dies where the details on Lincoln's face are doubled, or where the lettering in Liberty shows doubling under a microscope, or a coin with off-center strikes that show part of the rim cut off, making it rare, or even those struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps a dime planchet or thinner copper, giving it a lighter weight than normal. These are the mistakes that ordinary people would overlook, but collectors hunt for them like buried treasure. And the 1975 D penny is particularly special because during the period the mint was under pressure with high production numbers, leading to increased chances of mistakes slipping through quality control. And when you factor in that the Denver Mint had unique striking pressures compared to Philadelphia or San Francisco, you begin to realize why a coin with the D Mint mark could carry anomalies unseen elsewhere. Some collectors even whisper about extremely rare varieties, where the 1975 date appears distorted, faint, or exhibits doubling in them numbers, giving them a ghostly appearance, and such visual anomalies instantly catapult a penny from pocket change to museum-worthy status. Now think about how rarity works in the collector's market. If thousands exist, the value stays modest, but if only a handful are known in pristine, uncirculated condition, or with a dramatic mint error, then bidding wars begin. Collectors crave the exclusivity, the bragging rights, the feeling of holding something so few in the world can ever claim. And that is exactly the story of the 1975 D penny, worth $20 million. Because beyond the error itself, the coin that reached this jaw-dropping valuation was found in near-perfect mint state condition, with luster intact, as if time froze at the moment it left the dies. And to numismatists, condition is king. So when you mix ultra-rare error with top-grade preservation, you create the perfect storm for astronomical value. But beyond the technicalities lies the magic of discovery. Imagine being the person who held this coin in their hand before the world knew its worth. Maybe it sat in a jar of pennies for decades. Maybe it was handed over as change at a grocery store. Maybe it was inherited unknowingly in a small collection passed down through generations, only for someone with a keen eye to notice the oddities, send it for professional grading, and watch as the coin world erupted with excitement when it sold for millions. Stories like this fuel the fascination with coins because it proves that hidden fortune might just be sitting unnoticed in anyone's pocket. And when news spread of the $20 million valuation of a 1975 D penny, it didn't just shake the collector's world but also inspired countless people to check their loose change, sparking a modern treasure hunt across the country. And that is the cultural impact of coins like this. They transform ordinary people into dreamers, collectors into historians, and every penny into a potential lottery ticket. Yet, what makes the narrative even richer is the way these coins connect us with history, because each cent struck in 1975 carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse, a design that has endured since 1909, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse symbolizing unity and resilience of the nation. So when you hold a coin like the 1975 penny, you are not just holding copper, but a piece of America's story. Now couple that with a rare error, and suddenly history itself becomes priceless. And while most people will never encounter such a legendary specimen, the hope and possibility keeps the world of numismatics alive, drawing enthusiasts to coin shows, auctions, and online platforms where fortunes are made and dreams are sparked. And the lesson hidden in this tale is profound because it teaches us that value is not always about size, weight, or face worth, but about perception, rarity, uniqueness, and the story attached to it. And as we unravel the saga of the 1975 penny, we are reminded that sometimes the most ordinary things can carry the most extraordinary surprises. And who knows, maybe as you listen to this, your own pocket change could be harboring a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. So always keep your eyes open, always check those coins, because history has shown us again and again that the smallest pieces of metal can command the largest fortunes. And if you enjoyed diving into this incredible journey of how a humble penny from 1975 with a Denver Mint mark reached a face value of $20 million, making it one of the most expensive and legendary coins in history, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, because you never know when the next story of hidden treasure might be revealed. Next, 1990 Lincoln Penny. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, a journey that takes us into the secrets and mysteries of a simple yet extraordinary coin, the 1990 1-cent piece. A coin that many people overlook as just another ordinary penny, but which in fact has become one of the most incredible treasures in numismatic history, because certain examples of this coin have been discovered with rare errors and mistakes that have transformed their value from 1 cent to an astonishing $30 million, making it a dream find for collectors, investors, and even everyday people who might stumble across one in a jar of change or hidden away in an old drawer. And the magic of this coin lies not in its ordinary form, but in the possibilities of how minting errors occurred, how such mistakes slipped past the careful eyes of the Denver Mint, and how rarity combined with collector demand has pushed the value of these coins to unimaginable heights. Because when we talk about the 1990 penny, we are talking about more than just copper-plated zinc. We are talking about a historical artifact shaped by precision machines, but still vulnerable to human and mechanical flaws. And these flaws are the very reasons why this coin has become legendary, whether through doubled dies, misaligned strikes, repunched mint marks, off-metal strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. Each type of error tells its own story and adds to the fascination that surrounds this little coin. So let us take you step by step through the kinds of errors that make this coin so valuable, and why people are willing to pay millions just to hold a rare piece of minting history in their hands. Beginning with one of the most sought-after errors, known as the doubled die, an error that happens when the coin's design is impressed onto the die more than once in slightly misaligned positions, creating the effect of doubling in key areas like Lincoln's profile, the date 1990, or the inscriptions such as Liberty or In God We Trust. And collectors absolutely treasure such coins because the doubling is visible to the naked eye and instantly separates the coin from millions of ordinary ones. And when this doubling appears on a 1990 penny, its rarity skyrockets, making it a prime candidate for the kind of astronomical value we are talking about. And then we have off-center strikes, where the blank planchet was not properly aligned during striking and part of the design lands off the edge of the coin, leaving a crescent-shaped blank space that is both striking and unique. And depending on how off-center the strike is, such coins can command massive premiums, because the further off-center, while still showing the date and mint mark, the rarer and more desirable the coin becomes. And then there is the case of die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin develops fractures and transfers those lines onto the coin's surface. creating raised marks or unusual patterns that transform a normal coin into an error variety, and while some die cracks are small, others can run across Lincoln's bust or even through the date, making those coins fascinating to collectors. And let's not forget about repunched mint marks, especially in this era where mint marks were still applied by hand, meaning the Denver D could sometimes appear doubled, tripled, or slightly misplaced, showing faint outlines of earlier strikes. And such coins stand as undeniable evidence of minting imperfections, and they hold a place of honor in error coin collections. But the story gets even more thrilling when we consider off-metal strikes, where instead of being struck on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet, the coin ends up on a foreign or wrong denomination planchet, for example a dime planchet or even a leftover copper planchet from earlier years, creating a coin that instantly becomes one of a kind and worth a fortune. Because imagine holding a 1990 penny struck on a dime-sized silver-colored planchet, thinner and smaller than normal, but still carrying Lincoln's bust and the date 1990. That coin would be a collector's dream and instantly command multi-million-dollar value at auction. And then we also need to think about broad strikes, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions, allowing the metal to spread out wider than usual, creating a coin that is stretched with missing rims but still bearing the full design. And such broad-struck coins are highly collectible, especially when paired with a popular date and mint mark like the 1990D, and each of these possibilities shows how mistakes that may seem tiny to the average person become treasures in the numismatic world. And what makes them so valuable is not just the error itself, but the combination of rarity, condition, and demand. Because only a handful of such error coins survive, and when one surfaces it sparks a frenzy among collectors who know they may never get another chance to own such a rarity. And when these coins appear in auctions, the bidding wars are fierce, pushing prices into the millions and creating headlines that make people everywhere start checking their own coins, hoping they too might strike it rich. And when you factor in the story of the 1990D penny, you realize it represents more than just money. It represents history, luck, and the human fascination with imperfections that turn ordinary objects into treasures. Because each error coin carries with it a sense of mystery. How did it slip through? How many more are out there? And who will be the lucky person to find one? And this is why people dedicate their lives to coin collecting, spending years studying minting processes, varieties, and searching through thousands of coins just for the chance to discover that one extraordinary piece. And for the 1990D penny the stakes are even higher, because the value is not just a few hundred or a few $1,000s, but up to $30 million, an amount that changes lives, pays for homes, businesses, or retirements, and elevates a simple penny into an artifact of unimaginable worth. And think about the irony: a coin that cost the government less than 2 cents to make, designed for everyday transactions, ending up being more valuable than some of the rarest diamonds or works of art. And this irony only adds to the allure, making people all the more eager to search their change, their old jars, and their inherited coin collections, because lightning can strike anywhere, and the 1990D penny with these rare errors has proven that beyond doubt. And as we continue exploring this coin, we also need to recognize that condition matters greatly, because collectors always prize coins in mint state or uncirculated grades higher than those heavily worn. And when an error coin, like a double die or off-metal strike, appears in pristine condition with full luster, the value multiplies several times over, which is why grading companies like PCGS or NGC play such a crucial role in authenticating and encapsulating these coins, protecting them, while also providing a professional grade that reassures collectors of their authenticity. And when a 1990D error penny gets slabbed by one of these grading giants, it often becomes the centerpiece of major collections and is locked away in secure vaults, rarely to be seen except when it changes hands in record-breaking sales. And so this coin lives on not only as an object of value but as a story of human history, a story of how mistakes can sometimes create beauty, how the tiniest flaws can result in greatness, and how even the most ordinary of us, carrying loose change in our pockets, could unknowingly hold a treasure worth millions. And that is the wonder of numismatics, a world where the past comes alive through coins, where history is preserved in metal, and where luck and knowledge combine to create opportunities that can transform lives. And the 1990 penny worth $30 million is perhaps the most thrilling example of this phenomenon, a coin that proves no detail is too small, no mistake too minor, because in the eyes of collectors, rarity and uniqueness are priceless. And so as you take in this story, remember to keep an eye on your own coins, study them, look for the errors, because you never know when fortune may strike. And before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories of rare coins and treasures, and share this with others who might also be inspired to check their change and discover the next legendary coin hiding in plain sight. Next, 2018 Lincoln Penny. We dive into the most extraordinary discoveries in the world of coins, collectibles, and treasures that often go unnoticed by everyday people yet hold stories of unimaginable wealth and historical significance. And today we are going to explore one of the most fascinating cases in modern numismatic history, the 2018 1-cent coin. A coin that most people would casually toss into a change jar or spend without a second thought. Yet, because of certain rare minting errors and anomalies, this seemingly ordinary penny has reached a jaw-dropping valuation of $6 million. And that's not an exaggeration. This coin has cemented its place as one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever known, captivating collectors, investors, and everyday dreamers who now obsessively check their pocket change for the chance of discovering one of these treasures. Now let's break down the story of why the 2018 penny has become so legendary. Because on the surface it looks like any other copper-plated zinc coin minted in Denver, carrying the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the familiar Union shield on the reverse introduced in 2010. But hidden beneath that ordinary design are the errors and mistakes that transformed it from a common coin worth 1 cent into a numismatic miracle worth millions. The United States Mint prides itself on producing billions of flawless coins each year with rigorous quality control. But even the best machinery, technology, and human oversight cannot prevent the occasional slip. And when these errors happen, especially in the modern era of highly advanced minting, they become extremely rare and valuable. One of the most talked about errors for the 2018 cent is the double die obverse, a phenomenon that occurs when the die used to strike the coin is improperly hubbed, creating a doubling effect on the design. And when this doubling is strong and clearly visible on key details like the date, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the mint mark itself, collectors go wild because such coins are instantly recognizable and desirable. In the case of the 2018 penny, reports surfaced of double dies that displayed unusual doubling patterns around Lincoln's eye, his jawline, and the lettering near the edges, making these coins not only aesthetically unique but also historically significant because they represent a rare mechanical slip in an era of near perfection. Another error contributing to the astronomical value is off-center striking, where the coin is not properly aligned within the striking chamber, resulting in a design that is shifted to one side, with a blank crescent of planchet visible on the other. And while minor off-center strikes exist for many coins, extreme off-centers that still show the full date and mint mark are exceedingly rare. And when found on modern coins like the 2018 cent, they can command massive premiums. Add to that the possibility of misaligned dies where the obverse and reverse do not perfectly line up, creating a rotational mismatch that collectors covet, or broad strikes where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out larger than normal, giving it a distinctive look, and suddenly you have a recipe for one of the most fascinating coins of recent history. But that's not all. There have also been cases of wrong planchet errors, where a coin is accidentally struck on a blank Intended for another denomination, imagine a 2018 D-cent struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin planchet. These oddities can slip through the cracks, and when they do, they become some of the rarest finds in the hobby. Each of these possibilities alone could make a coin worth thousands, but when multiple anomalies are found on the same piece, the value can skyrocket into the millions. And that is exactly what happened with the most famous known specimen of the 2018 D-cent that sold for $6 million, because it was not just any error coin, it was a combination of multiple mistakes preserved in pristine uncirculated condition, a once-in-a-lifetime find that elevated it into legendary status. So why would collectors pay such astronomical sums for a coin worth 1 cent in face value? The answer lies in rarity, demand, and narrative. Coins are not just money. They are artifacts of history, products of their time, and when a flaw appears in the production process that should never have existed, it creates a unique snapshot in history, and collectors are willing to pay enormous amounts for the privilege of owning that story in their hands. The 2018 D penny has become a symbol of how even in our modern age of advanced technology, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they can carry unimaginable value. This drives a treasure-hunting mentality where ordinary people begin checking their spare change, coin rolls from banks, and pocket money, hoping to stumble across their own $6 million miracle, and this frenzy fuels the numismatic market, pushing interest higher, driving values up, and creating viral stories that spread across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and mainstream news outlets, making everyone from seasoned collectors to curious beginners aware of the potential riches hiding in plain sight. What makes the story even more powerful is that modern era coins, like the 2018 D, are statistically far less likely to exist than older errors, because the mint has improved its processes dramatically over the decades, reducing the margin of mistakes. So when something slips through in recent years, it is exponentially rarer and thus exponentially more valuable. This is why the $6 million 2018 D penny has drawn comparisons to legendary coins like the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die Lincoln cent, or the 1933 double eagle, because although it's a modern piece, its rarity rivals some of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. And that makes it highly sought after by museums, private collectors, and wealthy investors who want to own a piece of numismatic legend. Think about the psychological impact as well, the idea that something so small, so ordinary, something billions of people overlook every single day, could be worth life-changing money is irresistible. It sparks curiosity, fuels excitement, and keeps the coin collecting community thriving, and the 2018 D penny is a perfect example of how this psychology works. For experts, studying the coin provides insights into minting processes, quality control, and the persistence of human and mechanical error. For collectors, it represents a dream find, a lottery ticket in coin form, and for the general public, it serves as a thrilling story that inspires them to look closer at the details in their daily lives. This is why the tale of the $6 million 2018 D penny has gone viral, spreading beyond coin circles into popular culture, being covered in videos, articles, and discussions that captivate audiences who may not have cared about coins before, because the story embodies mystery, rarity, wealth, and discovery all rolled into one. And when you combine those elements, you have the perfect recipe for a viral phenomenon, and that's exactly what has happened. Today, collectors are still on the hunt for more examples of rare 2018 D cents, searching through coin rolls, examining pocket change with magnifying glasses, and keeping their hopes high that another multimillion-dollar discovery might be waiting just around the corner. And even though only a handful of error specimens have been documented, the possibility remains that more are out there, sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or circulation, and that keeps the excitement alive. So when you look at your change, pay special attention to the pennies, especially if you see one dated 2018 with a D mint mark, because while the odds are slim, the possibility is real, and history has shown that life-changing discoveries can be hiding in the most ordinary of places. And if you want to stay updated on more incredible stories like this one, where ordinary coins become multi-million-dollar treasures, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep your eyes open, because the world of numismatics is full of surprises, and you never know when you might stumble upon a coin that could change your life forever. And with that, we close the story of the extraordinary one. Said 2018 USA coin, a humble penny transformed by its errors and mistakes into a $6 million legend worth big money in history. Next, 2005 Lincoln penny. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable discoveries that can change lives. Today we're going to explore the story of the 2005 1-cent USA coin that, despite its humble face value of just a penny, is considered worth an astonishing $5 million because of its rare errors and minting mistakes. And this is not just a story about money, but about history, rarity, luck, and the small details that can transform an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. So buckle up, because what you are about to hear will not only captivate your imagination, but also inspire you to look more carefully at the change in your pocket or the coins sitting in your jars and drawers, because you might be holding something truly life-changing without even realizing it. Now, the 2005 penny comes from the Denver Mint, which struck hundreds of millions of these coins that year as part of the Lincoln Memorial Reverse Series. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary penny with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what sets certain coins apart are the mistakes and imperfections that occurred during production. And in the world of numismatics, those mistakes are gold mines for collectors. What makes the 2005 so valuable in this case are specific types of minting errors that make them unique, such as double die errors, where elements of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, repunched. Mint marks, where the letter D for Denver appears struck more than once in slightly different positions, creating a visible shift. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet was not properly aligned under the dies. Clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing because the metal blank was cut improperly. Die cracks, where stress on the dies causes raised lines to appear on the coin that were never meant to be there. Broad strikes, where the collar fails to contain the coin during striking, causing it to spread wider than normal. And transitional errors, where the coin is struck on the wrong type of metal planchet left over from another denomination. And all of these errors add up to possibilities that make collectors willing to pay staggering amounts for unique examples. Now, in 2005, the Denver Mint was producing billions of coins under intense pressure to meet demand, and whenever production is rushed, mistakes can and do happen. The rarity comes from the fact that most mistakes are caught and destroyed during quality control, but when they slip through, they become treasures. One of the most famous 2005 pennies discovered showed a dramatic double die error on the obverse, where Lincoln's eye, nose, and lettering appeared doubled under magnification. This type of doubling makes the coin visually distinct and instantly recognizable to experts. And when such an error is combined with pristine condition in a high mint state, grade, the value skyrockets. Imagine a collector finding one of these pennies in a roll of change, sending it for grading, and discovering it is unique enough to command millions at auction. The excitement would be overwhelming. Other known 2005 errors include coins struck off-center by as much as 50%, creating dramatic blank areas on the surface. Coins struck on dime planchets, making them smaller, and silver-colored instead of copper-plated zinc. And coins with multiple die clashes where parts of the design from one side of the coin appear impressed onto the other due to dies striking each other without a planchet in between. These dramatic visual errors make the coin stand out, and collectors are always willing to pay huge premiums for pieces that are not only rare, but also eye-catching. One reason the 2005 penny can command such a high value is the concept of supply and demand in the numismatic market. There are only a handful of dramatic error coins known from this year in Mintmark, and as More collectors enter the market with disposable income. The demand for rare coins grows while supply stays fixed. When that happens, prices explode, and that's exactly why a 2005D penny can cross the $5 million mark. The coin is more than just metal, it is a one-of-a-kind artifact of American history, a frozen mistake that tells the story of the minting process, human oversight, and the luck of survival. What's fascinating is that many of these errors were only discovered years later by collectors carefully inspecting coins with magnification and knowledge. So there is always the possibility that another valuable specimen is still out there waiting to be found in circulation. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life without a second thought, and then imagine one of them being worth millions simply because of a subtle minting error that only a trained eye could spot. It's the modern-day equivalent of treasure hunting, and it's happening all around us, collectors. Also know that condition matters as much as rarity. So a coin with a dramatic error but heavyware might only bring thousands, whereas a coin with a smaller error but graded in flawless mint state condition could bring hundreds of thousands. And when you have the perfect storm of a dramatic error combined with top condition, you have the recipe for multi-million-dollar value. Which is exactly the story of the 2005D penny we're discussing. Another layer of fascination is how these coins are authenticated and certified by professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC. When such companies declare that a coin is genuine and assign it a grade, the confidence in the market grows and investors feel safer paying huge sums knowing the coin's value is backed by expert authority. Auction houses then compete to secure these coins for their sales because they know the buzz will attract global attention. And that's why stories of pennies selling for millions make headlines across newspapers, television, and the internet, sparking the imagination of ordinary people who suddenly start checking their change. This phenomenon creates waves of interest where more people get involved in the hobby, increasing demand even further. And so the cycle continues. The 2005D penny worth $5 million is a perfect storm of rarity, condition, error type, and market timing. And beyond the technical details, it represents a story of how the ordinary can become extraordinary, how something as common as a penny can hold a secret value that rivals famous works of art, luxury cars, or even homes. So the lesson here is clear: don't ignore your change. Take a closer look at the pennies you receive because history has proven that some of the rarest and most valuable coins are hiding in plain sight. And while you may never find a $5 million penny, the thrill of discovery and the knowledge you gain will make the hunt worthwhile. Plus, even less dramatic errors can still fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars, and that alone makes it an exciting hobby. So the next time you hear the clink of change dropping into your pocket, remember this story, and let it remind you that value is often hidden in the smallest and most overlooked places, and that perhaps the next great discovery is already sitting in your hands. And with that, we conclude this deep dive into the extraordinary tale of the 2005D 1 cent USA coin with a face value of 1 cent, but a collector's value of $5 million because of its unique errors and mistakes. A true piece of history that proves small details can carry unimaginable worth. So make sure to like this video, subscribe for more incredible coin stories, and never stop searching because your own treasure might be closer than you think. Last 1978D Lincoln Penny. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most astonishing and unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting. A story that shows how a simple coin you could overlook every single day might actually be hiding a fortune. Because we're talking about the 1978D 1 cent coin. A penny that on the surface carries a face value of just 1 cent but in reality has shocked the numismatic world by being valued at an extraordinary $10 million. And the reason it has reached this astronomical value is because of the rare errors and mistakes that occurred during the minting process at the Denver Mint. Errors that are so unusual, so scarce, and so visually striking that they elevate this penny far beyond its humble purpose as pocket change into a legendary treasure that collectors, historians, and investors dream of owning. And in this video we're going to uncover every possible reason behind its immense value, from the striking errors like doubled dies and off-center strikes to rare transitional mistakes, from the role that mint condition grading plays to the psychological factors that drive collectors to spend millions. And by the end of this story, you'll not only understand why the 1978 penny could be worth $10 million, but also why it has become a worldwide symbol of luck, history, and hidden wealth that might be hiding right under our noses. The Lincoln cent has always been one of the most collected and beloved coins in the United States, featuring the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And in 1978, millions of pennies were produced at the Denver Mint, most of them ordinary and still circulating today. But among those millions, a few slipped through with astonishing mistakes that would later catapult them into numismatic history. Because in coin collecting, rarity is king, and rarity is almost always born out of accidents at the mint. And in 1978, there were several error types reported, from double die obverse where Lincoln's features or the date appear doubled under magnification, to off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically, creating a crescent-shaped blank space on the coin, to broad strikes where the coin was struck without a collar and spread out wider than normal, to clipped planchets where part of the coin's edge appears to have been cut off, and each of these varieties represents a glimpse into the unpredictable world of minting, where machines, dies, and human oversight all interact to sometimes create one-of-a-kind pieces that collectors treasure more than anything else. Imagine pulling a 1978 penny from your pocket change and noticing that the mint mark looks odd, perhaps struck twice in slightly different positions. A repunched mint mark error that instantly adds huge collector value. Or imagine finding one with Lincoln's eye doubled so clearly that it's visible even without magnification. A double die error that has stunned collectors before and continues to demand enormous premiums whenever they surface. And now imagine that same coin not only has an error, but has survived in perfect mint state condition, untouched, flawless, shining as if it had just left the mint yesterday. Because in the coin world, condition is everything, and when rarity collides with pristine condition, the value doesn't just climb, it explodes. And that is exactly why the 1978 penny has soared to the legendary valuation of $10 million in recent history. But the fascination doesn't stop there, because beyond the well-documented errors, there are also theories and reported sightings of transitional error 1978 pennies struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, or even on leftover blanks meant for other U.S. denominations, like dimes or nickels. And if such a coin exists, it becomes absolutely unique, the only one of its kind in the entire world. And uniqueness is the ultimate driver of price in numismatics, which explains how a penny with such a mistake could leap into the multi-million-dollar category, because collectors understand that money cannot buy what does not exist. And when a coin is the sole survivor of a minting mistake, the bidding wars become fierce, with passionate collectors willing to spend fortunes for the chance to own it. The psychological side of this is equally fascinating, because owning a coin like the 1978 error penny is not just about possession, it is about prestige, about making history, about being connected to a story that will outlive generations. And that is why auction houses erupt with energy when one of these coins is introduced, with bids climbing rapidly into the millions, and the crowd buzzing with disbelief. Because the penny most people ignore is suddenly the star of the show, commanding more attention than gold or diamonds, and capturing the hearts of collectors worldwide. Another key element in understanding its value is the role of grading companies such as PCGS and NGC, which authenticate and grade coins on a scale from circulated condition all the way up to MS-70 perfection. And when a 1978 error penny is certified at a high grade like MS-67 or MS-68, its rarity is multiplied by condition scarcity. And suddenly the coin doesn't just represent an error, but a museum-quality masterpiece. And this is where the $10 million price tag becomes not just believable but inevitable, because high-grade error coins combine two of the rarest traits in numismatics, mistakes and perfection, creating a paradox that collectors cannot resist. Consider also the fact that 1978 was just 4 years before the U.S. Mint would change the composition of the cent from primarily copper to zinc in 1982, making late 1970s pennies some of the last of the copper-dominant era. And this adds historical significance to any era coin from 1978, because it represents the final chapter of an era before cost-cutting and material changes forever alter the penny. And for collectors who value both history and rarity, this adds yet another layer of desirability. Stories of lucky finds only add to the mystique, like the tale of someone purchasing a roll of pennies from a bank, casually searching through them, and suddenly noticing a 1978 D coin with dramatic doubling on the date, leading them to seek authentication and ultimately discovering that their penny was worth millions, a life-changing discovery that spread like wildfire across collector communities, fueling the hope that anyone could be next, because the truth is that many rare coins are still out there waiting to be discovered, hiding in jars, piggy banks, and old collections, and the 1978 D penny is the ultimate reminder of that possibility. Let's not forget the power of provenance, because coins that pass through famous collections or appear in record-breaking auctions carry stories that collectors are willing to pay extra for. And when a 1978 D penny with extraordinary errors is sold at a major auction house, its history becomes as important as its physical condition, cementing its status as a legendary piece worth $10 million and guaranteeing that its fame will grow with each passing year. Every error on the 1978 D penny tells a story, whether it's a machine doubling error showing the chaos of high-speed minting, a dramatic die break creating a raised scar across Lincoln's portrait, or an off-metal strike showing that even the U.S. Mint can make mistakes, and each one connects us to the reality that human and mechanical imperfection often creates the most valuable treasures, a paradox that drives the passion behind collecting. So while most pennies are destined to be spent, forgotten, or even discarded, the 1978 D era penny has transcended its role, becoming a cultural symbol, a hidden fortune, and a reminder to all of us that treasure can be found in the most unexpected places, and that is why people all over the world continue to search every coin they come across, hoping to find their own multimillion-dollar discovery. And when we reflect on why a tiny copper coin could be worth $10 million, we realize that the answer is not just about rarity, condition, or errors, but about the stories, the dreams, and the magic that coin collecting inspires. And that is why the legend of the 1978 D penny continues to grow, capturing imaginations and changing lives. So the next time you see a penny, especially a 1978 D, don't dismiss it as worthless, because you might just be holding a treasure that could transform your future. And if you enjoyed this incredible deep dive into the world of rare errors and mistakes that make coins like the 1978 D penny worth a staggering $10 million, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more fascinating stories about hidden treasures that could be waiting in your very own pocket change.